Hey, everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Live. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're so happy to have Blaine Garrett here. So I see some new faces out there. If you're new to Monday Night Live, part of what we do here on a weekly basis is invite an Iowa songwriter to join us. We learn their material, and when I say we, I mean Dave, Russ, and Ben. We learn their material, and then we present a showcase, and they actually don't really communicate with each other until sound check here on Monday afternoon. So it's really kind of a magical experience for the musicians. How these guys get paid is through your generous donations. So if you like what you're hearing, I hope you'll put a little something in the bucket or go to your card on your table and send a little something from through your Venmo, and we will make sure that these guys get paid tonight. Also, there's out on the patio this evening, there are hamburgers, hot dogs, and veggie burgers. And you can order those through the bar. Is that right, Trish? Yeah, you can order sandwiches through the bar and pay for them there. And so if you're hungry, that's going to be happening through the end of intermission. So please feel free to try a little something out. Let's see, anything else? Next week, we have James Bean. And so it'll be a little different. Yeah, going to be kind of a rock and roll show in here next week. And I think the week after that, we have Damon Dotson. Yeah. So it's going to be a fun month here at Monday Night Live. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll see you after the break.
Howdy, everybody. Call up tonight's show.
Thought I'd hit 30. 30 is come and gone. 40 ain't too far away if them trends carry on. Another notch in my belt, another mark on the wall. Tuition paid every day by the way I choose to walk. So I'm gonna keep on moving on, I tell you. Keep on moving on down skip to beat. I'm gonna keep on moving on. I tell you, keep on moving on down the line. Keep on moving on, steady walking lockstep with Father's time. It ain't skipped a beat.
Blaine Garrett, everyone.
Thank y'all very much. Goodness gracious, these boys I'm playing with are good. We'll just stick that down there. Can't Walk Away. Yeah, Benny starts a lot of these songs just because he looks great. So that's why he starts them. It's not because he can play. This song's called Can't Walk Away from the Whiskey. And this is a true story about a guy I knew. Your heart is your weakness. You always stood there by my side. These habits that are killing me are gonna take your life. Your love for me is unending, and my love's not the same. No, so when you wake up tomorrow morning, you'll have me to blame. I can't walk away from the whiskey. I can't step out of the rain. Oh, I know that you'll miss me. But honey, you won't miss the pain. Now you're crying in your coffee, stumbling through all your thoughts on how you go on living without me. Don't worry, honey, you'll work it out. I can't walk away from the whiskey. Can't step out of the rain. I know that you'll miss me, but honey, you won't miss the pain. I'm a ship out on the water, sinking low, but I won't let you write it down. No, someday you'll look back on my memory and thank God I left this town. Step out of the rain. I know that you'll miss me, but honey, you won't miss the pain. I'm a ship out on the water, sinking low, but I won't let you ride it down. Someday you'll look back on my memory and thank God I left this town. Thank y'all very much. Thank you. So my name's Blaine Garrett, and this wonderful event and venue, I'm sure there's a lot of regulars here that you come here and listen to a lot of talented people, and this is my first time here. And I'll be honest with you, I'm always just a worrywart because it's just critical in my nature, right? I'm like a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs sometimes. And I got here earlier, and we played a few songs, and these guys are so great and so gracious and so talented that when I walked through here, I thought, man, I hope I don't screw up my own stuff because these guys know this stuff better than I do. So give it up for these guys. Thanks for coming out here. This next song is called I Suppose. So this guitar I'm playing here, this was my grandpa's guitar, and it was the first guitar I ever learned how to play. It's a 1978 Yamaha FG 335, and I was 12 years old. I used to spend the summer times with my grandpa. He lived in Barron County, Kentucky, and he did dirt work for a living. He'd work me into the dirt. So I went down there one summer, as I always did, and the rain set in, and we couldn't work, and we couldn't go fishing. And we were eating biscuits at the kitchen table one day, and he looked across the table and he says, boy, you're about to wear me out. Here's this 12-year-old kid cooped up in a house, right? That's like trying to tame a wampus cat. So he says, come with me, and we walked up to the front closet, and he pulled out the coats and the boxes. And in the very back of that closet, in a case, he pulled out this old guitar. And his fingers had given up the ghost, and he wasn't able to play it very much, but he tuned it up, and he struggled through an old gospel song. And he got done playing it, and he put it in my lap, and he says, here you go. Have at it. And he left me there, and I played that guitar for about 2 weeks until my parents picked me up. When he died in 2016, he left me a shotgun, some old fishing reels, a pair of cowboy boots, and this guitar, and I love playing it. This song's called I Suppose, and it's about both of my grandfathers. I have a very large part of my heart that's old, and this is my tribute to them. Spend my summer days down on that lake with him and old Bear Dog. He'd sit way up in the front with his foot just a working that trolling motor pedal. And we'd sneak along the banks looking for them cab overs laying underneath the logs. Now my mom's dad was a hardened World War II veteran soldier. Every rabbit down round Taylorsville knew all his beagle dogs by name. And he'd put me up on his knee and let me steer the wheel on that 48 Ford tractor. And I'd wrestle that steering wheel, dragging that old bush hog down that overgrown farm lane. That is my blood, them two are my roots. And Mama said I get it honest, and Daddy said, son, that's the truth. And there's a part of my soul that feels 100 years old. I guess I get that from my grandpas, I suppose. Now you never know the time of day when that good Lord's gonna come a-calling. And late last spring, them two old men both were taken home. But every time I run a few through that old high-low or wide-end loaded Carolina, I still feel them around me, just as thick and heavy as this old cigar smoke. Well, that is my blood, them two are my roots. And Mama said I get it honest, and Daddy said, son, that's the truth. And there's a part of my soul that feels 100 years old. I guess I get that from my grandpas, I suppose. Talk to him, Mr. Jones. Son, that's the truth. There's a part of my soul that feels 100 years old. I guess I get that from my grandpas, I suppose. I guess I get that from my grandpas, I suppose. Thank y'all very much. You done good. You done good. So, it's funny. I'm sure a lot of you have had this conversation with people. You meet somebody for the first time, you say, oh, what kind of music you listen to? And there's only one response that you get, and it's typically, oh, I listen to everything. It's like, well, the deeper you dig, you realize they don't usually listen to everything, right? So I tell them, well, I like listening to country music. I like a lot of other music, but I love country music. And they go, well, I love country music too, but I don't really care for that stanky, old, nasty, single wide trailer, dog died, wife run off on me kind of, Dwight Yoakam country. I don't really get into that. And I go, well, Lord have mercy. That's the only kind I like. So this song is called Horseless Cowboy. It's a little bit of an embellishment, but it's probably the stankiest thing that I've written. Yeah, that is questionable, isn't it, Benny? Here we go. Had an imagination and wild fascination of cowboys and such. I always wanted a Schofield and a buckskin horse, a lot of bullets and lungs full of dust. Well, I'd sleep in the desert with all the bad weather, use my knife to dig lead from my arm. And if I lived to see 30, I'd find me a purty little lady and settle down on a farm. But I guess that ain't easy for a man who lives in the city, born too many years in town. So I'll just work my 40 and live through the stories of the horseless cowboy that rides through my mind. Well, I wouldn't be the kind to rob people blind or steal all the stock that they had. I just tie up the legs and rope up the necks of the men that chose to be bad. And I'd smoke way too much and never eat enough and limp around from the pain in my knees. And I'd shoot the first asshole that gave me a hassle and always say yes ma'am and please. Guess that ain't easy for a man who lives in the city, born too many years in town. So I'll just work my 40 and live through the stories of the horseless cowboy that rides through my mind. Get on that horse, old par. Who lives in the city, born too many years in town. So I'll just work my 40 and live through the stories of the horseless cowboy that rides through my mind. Y'all are too kind. You know, that one's a lot of fun to play with a band, but when you're sitting in a garage by yourself and it's just you, that one can seem a little monotonous, but man alive, it comes to life when you got these boys out there.
It's pretty boring playing bass at home by myself. It goes both ways.
Here we go. Okay. This is a new one. We never played this song together, so we're gonna find out how that's gonna go right about now. Get this old snake out of my way. I can just sneak in. Yeah, just sneak in. All right. I met Jesus when I was just a boy by an old man with a book in his hand wearing a tan pair of corduroys, and I was consumed with everything I never knew and I wasn't told about the hell that unfolds when you're blinded by the truth. Now my body isn't holding, and I can't do that stuff anymore. I can't wait for the morning time to get my feet back on that floor. Someday I'm gonna find out how bad I burned out the backside of life, but I'm learning to love the life. Now me and the whiskey, we both like a late night Haggard tune. It pairs real well with Snowball headed for hell when you have the working man's blues. I had a choice. I had to make my bed and listen to that voice that kept a whispering in my head that your body isn't holding. Son, you can't do that stuff anymore. I can't wait for the morning time to get my feet back on that floor. Someday I'm gonna find out how bad I burned out the backside of life. I'm learning to love the life. Now my body isn't holding, and I can't do that stuff anymore. And I can't wait for the morning time to get my feet back on that floor. Someday I'm gonna find out how bad I burned out the backside of life. I'm learning to love the life. I'm learning to love a life. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's funny, you start getting on the backside of the front part of your life, and you wake up one day and you go, son, you got to stop doing all that stuff. That's what that song's about. All right, here we go. When I was a boy, there was a special place between Mount Washington and Shepherdsville, Bullitt County, Kentucky, south of Highway 44 off Bogard Lane. It was a place of sunshine, hard work, dust, dogs, guns, and trucks. This was the home of my grandma and grandpa's house, Lincoln and Frances Varney, and I spent a lot of time there in the summers growing up. And on Sunday morning, Mom and Dad loaded us up in that old van. We'd beat the blacktop down Highway 40 and walk through the big double doors of an old Baptist church. As we made our way down the aisle between the pews looking for a place to sit, not in the front with all the holy rollers and not in the back with all the heathens, just somewhere north of the middle. The preacher would come out and tell you to grab the hymnal located in the seat back in front of you, and as you did, and start strumming through those pages, it's in those few short moments you look up through the reds and the greens and the blues of those stained glass windows, and just for a few seconds everything is perfect with the world. When I wrote this song, I wanted it to feel like Pleasant Grove Baptist Church, Bullitt County, Kentucky, 1988. Just south of the river where bourbon is made. Well, I walked rows with Grandpa and broke beans with Grandma till 8. And the dew on the lawn stayed till the coffee was all gone. And the summer sun beat down till the moon washes the heat away. Thank you, sir. Where the honeysuckle vine grows and the fireflies shine tonight, and tobacco is hanging in the old barn till it's good and dry. Well, there's still not a time, and still not a place that when the bluegrass grew in my younger days. Now I found myself out west of the Mississippi, out here living alone. Out where the corn meets the setting sun, well, I found a town I call my home. Take the boy out of the bluegrass, but the bluegrass will burn in his soul. Now I'm just an old man. Those hills used to know. Where the honeysuckle vine grows and the fireflies shine tonight, and tobacco is hanging in the old barn till it's good and dry. Well, there's still not time, there's still not a place that when bluegrass grew in my younger days. Well, there's still not a time, there's still not a place that when the bluegrass grew in my younger days. Thank y'all very much. All right, what we got next here? Oh, this is an interesting one. This is a true story. So I tell stories for a living. People call me up and they say, hey man, I want to tell a really good story, so that's what I do. I write scripts and I do video work for people. I do voiceover work and narrate things. So I love the stories behind the songs, right? If I could just hang up my guitar and never sing again, but still be able to tell stories and listen to stories, I think I would do that. That's how much I love them. So, Kill for Delacroix, y'all just want to just jump in right here out of the gate? Let's do it. Just get in here. Just get in here with me. Come on in. Come on in, boys. The water's fine. A number of years back, I found myself in southern Louisiana down in the marsh. It was the first time I'd ever duck hunted down there. We got up about 3:30 in the morning and we went out in the marsh and took about a 20-minute boat ride out on 100,000 acres. There ain't a tree one out there. It's just all floating bogs and weeds and water as far as an eye can see. Well, we limited out in about 11 minutes. So the guy I was with, his name was Kent. He said, we're going to take a ride, and I'm going to take you down here. I'm going to introduce you to somebody. I says, well, that sounds like a pretty good time. So we took off across the marsh, and way out on the horizon, you could see a houseboat. And it got closer and closer and closer. And I'm talking, this is an hour out in the marsh. There ain't nothing out there. We pulled up, tied the boat up, and we walked in the door of an old houseboat that crawled out of like 1952. And in this old houseboat sat an old man drinking a cup of coffee, eating a biscuit, and just threw a log on a wood-burning stove. And I thought, well, this is my kind of place. His name's Donald Ansardi, 90 years old. He commenced to tell us this story about something that happened back in 1923 called the Trappers' War. And it was a skirmish. It was a battle between a man named Malero and another man named Leander Perez. And it was a war over trapping rights in the marsh. Well, he told me this story, and I went back home. A couple weeks later, I wrote this song. It's called Kill for Delacroix. Delacroix is an island down there. It came from the Canary Islands on ships built to sail, settled down between the pylons in a land where others fail. Well, they filled the glass with a muscadine, tanned hides and brand new suits, and taught their boys to carve their spreads from the cypress roots. St. Bernard down to Point Lahash, and way on down the road, Leander and Malero are gonna kill for Delacroix. Well, they hardened their hearts and they kissed their wives and prepared to make a stand. boat came in from the west, full of Pinkertons. Well, the tide went out and the Gatling gun shot too low to make the keel. But the oyster lugger was full of blood when the shots rang off the hill. St. Bernard down to Point La Hache, way on down the road. Leander and Malero are gonna kill for Delacroix. Yeah, boy. Leander slipped across the river in a pirogue late one night. He stirred the nest but didn't have the chest to stay and face the fight. And the Isleños stayed and settled, and they will fight until the day. The levees can't hold back the water, and time washes it all away. St. Bernard down to Point La Hache, and way on down the road. Leander and Malero are gonna kill for Delacroix. St. Bernard down to Point La Hache, and way on down the road. Leander and Malero are gonna kill for Delacroix. Nice little song for you guys about death. I don't know. What do you think? Got any ideas on this one? You want me to just bring it in, or you guys want to come in with me, or bring it in?
I think bring it in.
Bring it in. Bring it in.
Bring us in when you're ready.
I'm gonna bring it in. What's that? Well, if I can keep it together. Okay. So I actually wrote this song about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. If you haven't noticed yet, I love old people. I really do. I just gravitate to people who have great stories. They got the best stories, right? And I remember my grandmother told me, her name was Frances. Frances ran away when she was 13. And she was a true Rosie the Riveter in Maryland when she was 15. And then she got a job in eastern Kentucky in the coal mining areas. And she was working this job in this hotel with her best friend. And a train pulled into town, and a man got off that train. And my grandmother said, that man might have the biggest nose of any man I've ever seen in my life. Well, the next day, lo and behold, that same man was out there swimming on the Tug Fork. So if y'all have heard of the Hatfields and McCoys, right? If you've ever seen that series, there's a river. There's the Tug River, the big sandy. It separates Kentucky and West Virginia. And that's where my family grew up. So I have Hatfields and McCoys in my family. Luckily, the feud is done. Well, anyways, she's out there with her friend the next day, and she sees that well, he was a young man at the time. She sees that man out there in the river, and she's standing up there on the bank. And he says, hey there, young lady, why don't you swing out there on that rope and let me catch you? She says, I can't swim. And he says, I'll catch you. You'll be all right. Well, she did it. and they got married a couple weeks later. That was my grandma and grandpa. So she was around about 89. We were sitting on the couch one day a number of years back. She just passed away a couple years ago, and she was telling me that back in those days, you married the people that were in the holler near you, right? If y'all don't know what a holler is, it's the creek that runs to the top of the hill with the hills on both sides. Well, you married the people in the holler, right? Because you didn't have $1 to take a train across the county to go see somebody that you really wanted to marry. So I kind of chuckled about that, and I thought about that a couple months back. I thought, I'm going to write a song about it. It's called Hat in Hand. Well, you know he don't love you the way I love you. He don't look at you like sunshine the way I do. But that's life down in the holler, when a man ain't got $1 to take a train across the county every afternoon. Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I'll be coming round the mountainside, crossing river through the woods as fast as this old Rona moon. While the whippoorwill sings its tune, I'll be riding under a quarter moon. I'll be on your porch come morning, hat in hand to marry you. Don't rise, I'll be coming round the mountainside, crossing river through the woods as fast as this old Rona moon. And while the whippoorwill sings its tune, I'll be riding under a quarter moon. I'll be on your porch come morning, hat in hand to marry you. Well, he don't deserve your loving, and honey, there ain't nothing I want more than to wake up with you when the rooster crows each day. And like the front yard needs its flowers and a good day needs its hours, well, I'm saddled up and headed out to bring you back here to stay. Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I'll be coming round the mountainside, crossing river through the woods as fast as this old Rona moon. While the whippoorwill sings its tune, I'll be riding under a quarter moon. I'll be on your porch come morning, hat in hand to marry you. Well, I'll be on your porch come morning, hat in hand to marry you.
Yeah, dude, you nailed it.
That's a fun one. Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, now that y'all have heard that, next time that we get together and do this thing, y'all know, Lord willing and the creek don't rise. Yeah.
Do it again? You want to hear that one again? Now that we've rehearsed it, let's do it. Yeah, now that we've rehearsed. Y'all want to do that one again, or you want to keep rolling?
This is called Tied Up on the Tracks. Well, I'm sitting outside like I did last night and every night before, with a glass in my hand and a brand new bottle I can't afford. These thoughts in my head I can't put to bed since she walked out the door. This bottle's got me tied up on the tracks. I know that train gonna hit me in the morning, and I remember she ain't never coming back. One more pour, 2 fingers neat, a few more knots around my feet. This bottle's got me tied up on the tracks. I used to belly up tight in them ballroom lights till all the lights went out. Cold beer and a bar back till the greenbacks all ran out. My running around done running right out like smoke right out the stack. This bottle's got me tied up on the track. Know that train gonna hit me in the morning. I remember she ain't never coming back. One more pour, 2 fingers neat, a few more knots around my feet. This bottle's got me tied up on the track. Talk to him, son. Know that train gonna hit me in the morning. Give it up for him. I remember she ain't never coming back. One more pour, 2 fingers neat, a few more knots around my feet. This bottle's got me tied up on the tracks. Lord, this bottle's got me tied up on the tracks. Tied up on the tracks. So I was told to say this. There are some tip jars up here because this, these boys, they didn't get here, very easily, and they're going to need some money to get home. Yes, sir. Diesel's expensive today. All right.
You know, we're going to pass those buckets around to you so you don't have to get up and walk out in front of everybody.
Like a little offering, like church.
You know. And of course, if you want to save your bucks and you want to, go through the Venmo, there's a card on your table, and you can just hit that QRC code. Takes you right to Scott Sutherland's Venmo, which we're still waiting for accounting on that account. But I saw the other day he's putting a pool in his backyard, and I thought, well, that'll be fun.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, anyway, give what you can. We appreciate it. It's like I've said, going to church without the guilt. So give, you'll feel better in the morning.
This song is called Big Windy. A number of years back, I was fishing on the Missouri River with some buddies of mine, and big old wind kicked up and it blew our tent down the river. And it seemed like every time we went there fishing, it was always just really windy. So the Missouri River got its nickname, the Big Windy. And this song is about the Missouri River. goes up, barge goes down. It's the only life I know. Fight the river till the lights go out with 300 tons of stone. Will we call her the St. Joe Holler, Perkins Power, riding Pittsburgh steel, wrapped in iron and faded paint? She's the finest muddy river keel. And I think about the ones who rode the waterways before they laid the dice. And I think about the lives she chose to take from the ones that weren't afraid to die. Won't you roll along, big windy, roll, big windy, roll, roll along, big windy, roll, big windy, roll. She keeps taking our dirt down to the Delta. It ain't never coming home. And she took those sailors that died to sail between those shores. Now they're buried down there all alone. Won't you roll along, big windy, roll, big windy, roll, roll along, big windy, roll, big windy, roll. Won't you roll along, big windy, roll, big windy, roll. Won't you roll along, big windy, roll, big windy, roll. One more time. Roll, big windy, roll. Good job, boys. Thank y'all very much. We got one more here, and then we're going to take a short break. This song's called Lone Wolves. This is a true story. So, about 5 years ago, I struck up a conversation with a man who had sent me an email because we both knew some of the same people. And this man says, you need to meet this other guy. I think you guys would get along. Well, after about 2 months of kind of talking back and forth, I found out he was an operator, and he was an SF guy. And he says, I'm going to come up there and I'm going to visit you. And I said, okay. And so the day he was supposed to arrive, I was standing in my garage. And I had my back to my yard, okay? I'm standing in the garage, looking into the garage. I had some other buddies there with me. And all of a sudden, the sun that was behind me got dark. And I turned around and there stood a 6'3" man named Mongo, had a beard all the way down to his chest, had aviators on and a baseball cap, and he had legs like tree trunks. He says, are you Blaine? I said, are you Mongo? He says, yes, I am. I said, you're at the right house. Come on in, buddy. So he stayed with me for like 3 or 4 days. We sat out in the garage, and he told me a lot of stories about those days, and we may or may not have been inebriated during some of those moments, but it reminded me the way of life with the old SF guys and like the old cowboys, and there's a similarity between those two ways of life, because a lot of times you end up sometimes solo. So I wrote this song called Lone Wolves, and that's kind of what this is about. High price for knowing things that we know, oh, that keep us safe and alive. An acheless man without scars on his hands can't be assumed for being too wise. These were the stripes we earned by the brands that were burned through the layers of leather wrapped around our bones. It was the blade that was buried in these hearts we carry that bought our ticket to ride out here alone. Alone in the desert where men fear to tread, double-crossing the devil and keeping the beast at bay. There's no way of knowing where it is that we're going. Long to settle down, but know that we can't stay. We are the lone wolves running in the night, nose in the wind and fire in our eyes. We are the lone wolves running in the night, on the edge of forgotten until the last one dies. Thank y'all very much. Give it up for these boys right here. We'll be back here shortly.
There was a time I was looking for trouble, trouble on the double, coming down the line, looking for trouble, trouble on the double, coming down the line, and I found it every time. And you don't need no golden gate to know that you're going straight. Just follow love, not the fear. Traveling by heart's the only way to see. Oh, oh, traveling by heart's the only way to see. When you're driving late at night, the only thing you see is your own headlights, and you start to drift off the road. Know that you never have to do it alone. You don't need no golden gate to know that you're going straight. Follow the love, not the fear. Traveling by heart's the only way to see. Traveling by heart, you don't need no golden gate to know that you're going straight. Just follow love, not the fear. Traveling by heart's the only way to see. Oh, oh, traveling by heart's the only way to see.
Thank you so much.
I'm living in a cornfield. It's high above my head. And the ground is soft and damp here. It makes a cool bed. It makes a good hideout. Away from everyone. something growing inside of me. I'm living in a cornfield. It's high above my head.
I don't need a new car. Mine still starts. Got a couple of dents, but still holds some spark. I don't want a new dog. Mine still barks. She's got a couple of fleas, but holds her own at the park. And I'm just kicking back, smelling the flowers. My life's worth more than just chasing a dollar. I'd say pretty good. It's good enough for me. Well, my wife's not a model, but she looks pretty good. I stack her up against holding
welcome to set 2. You all can kind of find your way back to your seats. Part of what I love about our intermission is everybody kind of hops up and hugs each other and starts chatting. It's so great. There's so much good energy in the room. So give it up for Blaine.
Thank you all very much. You're very sweet. I appreciate you.
No, what a wonderful evening. This has really been kind of magical. Blaine has a new record that he's working on, right?
I do. We have been working on this record for almost 2 years, and it'll be my first album. We didn't go in and speed up the process. It was just kind of a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit along the way, and making sure people were in good minds and hearts and everything when they walked in for the next time. So it's just been piecing it together over the last 24 months.
Yeah, so when's it going to be released, do you know? Or you're kind of in the final mixing, is that right?
Correct. So everything is recorded. We're going through the final mixing process right now, and then it'll go off to get mastered hopefully in the next 30 to 45 days and be available hopefully before Christmas.
Great.
But if it doesn't happen, I'm not going to get too worked up about it.
And you'll be doing maybe a album release party somewhere along the line.
That would be the plan.
Yeah.
We would do an album release party. Yeah, I have a band that I play with, and they're really incredible. So,
is this your studio band?
yes, yeah. So the band that is playing on the album is the band that would play on stage, which is really great. While we're talking about it, so there's a guy in the room. His name's Dustin Smith, and give it up for my boy D. So Dustin and I have known each other I met Dustin when I was 13. I think he was 10 or 11, something like that. So we go back a ways. And Ben Mars, the bass player, and D goes back quite a ways. So there's some years under our belt. And I've actually thought about this question long and hard because I don't want to say something that's not true. But I do believe that Dustin Smith is my biggest fan. I really do believe that. Yeah, so thank you, D.
I love that so much.
Thank you, D. He's the guy that really kind of pushed me hard enough to do this. I don't think I would be sitting here talking to all of you had it not been for D. Smith. So I love you, D.
I wonder where Dustin Smith gets that energy.
Yeah, we probably both wonder that, huh? Maybe we both know it.
Maybe we both know.
I bet we do.
So one of the things that's so magical about having an opportunity to bring an artist in that we don't know very well is that we get to, by the end of Monday night, we're all really good friends, right?
Amen.
There's just something magical that happens when you put a show together and play music together. But one of the things that we discovered, I talked to Dustin last night at his house concert, and he was talking a little bit about his dad, Doyle Smith, who Blaine and Dustin and Ben kind of all hung out with growing up.
Correct.
And that was, I mean, it kind of gave me goosebumps because Doyle is the person who introduced me to Dave in our late teens.
Yeah.
It was kind of, I mean, it was just kind of one of those moments where it took my breath away again. And I can't tell you how many times, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I might cry. I can't tell you how many times Doyle is alive in this room and many rooms in Des Moines. And it's so fun.
Yes.
It's so fun to be part of Dustin's story and to meet Blaine and to know that these connections keep Doyle alive. So anyway, tell me a little bit about Doyle.
So how many people in the room knew Doyle Smith? Okay, so we've got some people. And as y'all know, Doyle was larger than life. He really was. He was the man, he was the life of the party. He was the entertainer. He knew how to play a guitar. He knew how to run a room, knew how to tell a joke, knew how to tell a story. He knew how to make you feel welcome and warm. And Doyle always made it about you. He was a very selfless, kind of humble guy. It was always about you. So I met Doyle, my best friend Aaron Kreger, who I met in 8th grade. January 17th of 1998, I sat behind a kid in science class. It was my first day of school here in Iowa, and the kid sitting in front of me in the first 3 minutes of class said something wildly inappropriate, and I knew that I would be best friends with him. And we still are best friends, but that boy, his name's Aaron Kreger, his father, Alex Kreger, was Doyle's best friend and bass player in the band. So naturally, I got to know Alex, and then naturally, I got to know Doyle, and then Doyle found out that I was tinkering around on a guitar. And so they had a lake house up on Lake Diamond Head. And so we used to go up to Lake Diamond Head all the time. And Doyle would say, bring your guitar up here. And I would just sit on the deck with Doyle and play these songs that he played, because he was a musician around town. So he knew all, Little Feat and Skinner and Bob Seger,
Everything.
Jimi Hendrix and CCR. I mean, he just knew it all. And I'd just sit there in the shadow of this very incredible human being and just play with him like a shadow. I did that for years on his deck. And when Doyle passed away in 2007, I think it was 2007, I don't know where D is. I think it was 2007. Their band, who I got to know this band really well. I'm in my 20s at this point, and they were in their 50s, and they'd known me for, 8, 9, 10 years, and they knew I was the kid that always showed up at every single one of their gigs. I was always at their gigs. And when Doyle passed away, they put an ad in it was a while that, they didn't want to play, but then they kind of had the conversation of like, Doyle wouldn't want us to hang this up. So they got to playing again, and they put an ad in the paper. This is back when you put an ad in the paper. Put an ad in the paper looking for a front man for the band. And they tried some people out. And then one day, I don't know who said it, but they said, why don't you call Blaine? I know Blaine knows all those songs because he sat on the deck with Doyle and played every single one of them. So they called me up, and I went down to the studio and played, and I was the front man of that band for 4 years. So, and got to play with all them. You can't fill those shoes. But it was a real honor.
That's so great.
And it's heavy on my heart. I
Yep,
really
yep.
loved that guy.
I love that whole story. That's so precious. So you have not been playing in a band recently, right?
Yeah, tonight is my first live gig, full set with a band in 15 years. Is tonight. So, thank you.
That's amazing.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Wow. Welcome
So,
back.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. Y'all have been great.
So what else can you tell us? I mean, you said you were born in Louisville.
Louisville, correct.
Louisville.
Louisville. Yeah, Louisville. You got it,
And then
buddy.
where? How long were you there?
So, I was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and I spent the first 7 years of my life in Kentucky. And that's where most of my family hails from. So, the majority of my family comes from western Kentucky and eastern Kentucky. My father's side comes from western Kentucky, Paducah, Glasgow, Cave City, Mammoth Cave. Y'all ever traveled down through that way? And then my mom's side, I still got a lot of family back in eastern Kentucky. So, coal mining, coal country. Patty Loveless, Dwight Yoakam, a lot of those cats came from coal country. Very, very, very heavy bluegrass, storytelling, front porch. It's a very old world. I was watching a documentary not too long ago, and there was a gentleman in this documentary that said, they were interviewing some folks from down there, and this man said, what people don't realize is we're about 20 years behind of the rest of the world. And I'm glad he said it, because I've been thinking it for 40 years. And I'm glad the man actually said it. And that's really the truth. And what's really interesting, and this has shaped who I am, is my mother and father came from very old world people. My father was born in 1958. I don't consider that old, but he didn't have plumbing until he moved out of the house when he was 18.
Wow.
He had to carry a bucket of water for 300 yards through the woods, and you took a bath once a week. I mean, they grew up poor. My grandfather was a sharecropper. He was a mule man. They called him a mule skinner. So it seemed like everybody in my childhood, which I thought was normal, crawled out of like a Louis L'Amour novel. You know, it's like everybody I was around was like 1800s, man. It was just so old world. And I didn't realize until we moved out of Kentucky and then we moved to Ohio and then I ended up here that the more I start digging in and talking to people about where they come from and their mother and their father and their aunts and their uncles and their grandpas, a lot of people didn't really grow up with a lot of the people that I grew up around. And of course, it's kind of, it's on me. It's in me. It's part of my DNA.
Man,
So,
you got an old soul. There's no question, right? Y'all hear that?
thank you. So,
I kind of love that, 20 or plus years behind. What a blessing today.
absolutely. It really is. The way we passed time when I was a child, my grandfather would sit in a rocking chair and smoke a cigarette and drink a cup of coffee and tell me a story about growing up. It wasn't TVs. And,
Yeah.
we sat on the front porch. There was a lot of front porch sitting when I was a kid. And I loved that. I think we're missing a lot of that right now. you
Yeah,
know?
totally.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What else do you want us to know about what's coming up for you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Music and songwriting. So thank you for the question. I graduated high school and I didn't go to college because I knew I would waste the money and I would waste someone else's time with me sitting in their class. So I packed up my motorcycle. I rode my motorcycle to Nashville and just lived down there with my cousin. Not for music. It just so happened I had family down there, and I framed houses for a while. And then I just kind of got into life. And as life happens, music turned into songwriting. I was never a studied musician, so it's funny when I get around the band, they're talking like ones and fours and hits and all this like technical stuff, and I'm just like, man, well, all right, boys, let me talk to you in my way and see if there's an interpreter here. I just kind of picked it up and did it, but writing, and this to answer your question, why have I stayed away from it? For me, songwriting is my church and my therapy. It's my release, it's my outlet, and I've just, for the last 20 years, it's what I do in the evenings by myself. Put a lot of pen to paper, thrown away more probably than anybody's ever heard, but it's a way of just getting it out on paper. It was never, I want to go out and stand in front of people and sing, because I'm not the best guitar player, and I'm not the best vocalist. So I never really had that desire. But I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy to be doing this. And there was a word that was laid upon my heart earlier this year. And the word squander. That's a heavy word. And I thought, and I think this probably happens when you start creeping up on 40.
Whatever.
Well, they call it a midlife crisis, but I'm not going to call it that. You start to look at things through a little bit of a different lens. And that
Really?
word was laid on my heart a little bit, and I didn't want to walk through this life and whatever little of something that I had, just keep it for myself selfishly and squander that. So, to answer your question, and that's a long way around the horn, I've just done it selfishly for myself for the last 15 years, but because of people like Dee and Aaron and Ben Mars and Brian Vanderpool and Sarah and just a lot of people, they have just said, dude, you go out and play, man. Yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry, what were you saying? Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad y'all like the stories. Yeah, this guy right here.
I love it.
I believe I'd have a better chance of reading Hebrew than telling you anything about a football team. Sports aren't my thing, but if I've got to pick something or somebody, I got two teams. It'd be the Hawks and it'd be the Wolverines, college football
There you
teams.
go.
Yeah.
What a treat. So happy to have you here this evening. Thank you so much. One
Thank
more
you.
question. when we were walking in at 4 o'clock, getting ready to do a little bit of a sound check and a kind of a brief rehearsal, I was walking behind him and I said, "This is the place where you start to wonder, what the hell have I gotten myself into?" What's it been like for you to be joining us at Monday Night Live?
It's really wonderful. That's probably the answer that everybody hears. I am a naturally critical person of myself. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I haven't played and sung, you know, is... Thank you. But because of that, give me your question one more time. I got derailed for a second.
What was it like for you to kind of trust us?
Thank you. There it was. I'm naturally critical of myself, and I'm always just like, oh man, my nerves just get wild. And when I came here earlier at 4 o'clock and walked in here, we did a sound check, we plugged in, and I knew Ben Mars. So Ben Mars plays in my band, in our band, whatever we want to call it. So he had...
On the recording?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Ben Mars played on the album, and so Ben's here. So I feel like, okay, well, Ben's here, you know. I'm good. And then after we did, like, the first 37 seconds of the first song during rehearsal, I realized how incredible these musicians are. And you hear it, right? You hear it. You're like, oh, dude, you're with those guys? You're good. And you hear it, but then when you feel it and you experience that, it's, there was a lot of weight lifted off. And that when you lift the weight, you can have the fun. If that makes sense. So it's been incredible. It's been incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much for trusting us tonight. And thank you for being here. And again, thank you all. We couldn't do this without your support and without your love. Thank you so much for being here.
Amen.
Blaine is going to do a few songs on his own, solo, and when he's ready, he'll call the band back up. So thank you.
Thank you, Miss Annie. I appreciate you. Do I get a hug? Thank you. Appreciate you. So when Scott Sutherland sent me a message and he asked me if I would be interested in doing this, I said yes, and thank you, much obliged. And then I said, okay, well, you know, what are the specs? What's the criteria? What do I need to do? And he says, well, just, you know, send 20 songs, send him the sheets and all that stuff. And I thought, well, okay, I got about 11 of those down. So last Sunday I sat down for like 10 hours and like wrote all the sheets out on all these songs that we did tonight, because I've never really written the structures down, right? You got to have choruses and verses and right spots and do all that stuff. And so it's been really interesting learning my own songs tonight. Let's give this thing a little tune. So this song is called Tell You That It's True. And I wrote this song probably about, I really don't know. There was a song I did earlier called Horseless Cowboy. It was the one that was like real stanky and old country I was kind of talking about. Well, I was going through some boxes a couple of weeks back. I actually sent this text to D. Smith. And I was going through these boxes, and in these boxes was a bunch of folders, manila folders and envelopes and paper that I've saved for some reason. So I'm looking through these boxes I haven't looked at in well over 10 years. And I found the lyrics and the words to that song, and I wrote that one in 2009. And so this song's called I Can Tell You That It's True. The only thing I can't tell you what is true is when I wrote it. I have no idea. Can you turn me down just a little bit in these monitors? Just bring these monitors down. On the guitar. Voice is fine. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. These old rusted edges, they cut right to the bone. They used to leave them crying and always left me alone. My back just ain't as strong as it used to be. Well, I could load it down with anger, son, and swim across the sea. And I could stay there treading water and act like I could breathe. But deep down I was sinking low with those chains upon my feet. Well, they say a man gets wiser, he gets older too. Well, I ain't no old man yet, but I can tell you that it's true. I learned to swing a hammer when I was 5 years old. I helped Grandpa dig potatoes one by one, row by row. I had worked 3 shifts, I never slowed it down. And I'd bust my knuckles while all my buddies were out there on the town. Grandpa said to cut your hay when the sun is shining down. The early bird gets the worm, stack your wood before the leaves turn brown. Well, I may not be the strongest, but I can work them all in the dirt. I may not have much, but I bought my lunch and I don't want no free dessert. The Almighty surely blessed me with more than I can say. And I hope I have another 100 years headed my way. But if I have to leave tomorrow, there's no one to wear these boots. You get out what you put into life, I can tell you that it's true. Tell you that it's true. So that one kind of breaks the rules of a normal song, right? You're supposed to have verses and choruses and bridges and all these things, and nothing makes sense on that one. It doesn't really go back to anything, which I kind of like. So I'm going to do one more. And I thought this would be a good one to play by myself because the rhythm is really weird, and I never do it the same, and I throw everybody off every time I play it because I don't play it right, and it's just not an easy one to play. So I thought, well, I'll just do that one myself. So I was on my way out to Culbertson, Nebraska a few years ago on a pheasant hunt. And I was traveling down a 2-lane blacktop road, and it was the fall. The windows were down, the sun was high, and I was going to be shooting birds for the next 4 days, so life was good. And as I'm making my way down the highway, I see a sign that says, Alma, Nebraska, just a few miles ahead. Well, as I pulled into this little town, 55, 45, 35, 25. Next thing you know, I'm kind of creeping through this town. And I look to my left. I see this little watering hole. And then I look to my right. And lo and behold, there's a motel. So I called my buddy Neil and I said, hey, Neil, I'm not going to make the morning hunt. I'm going to do something I've never done. And that is watch a baseball game all the way through. This was the last game of when the Cubs won the World Series. Y'all remember where you were? Well, I was in Alma, Nebraska. That town's about as big as that table right there. So I parked the truck, got a room, threw my bags on the bed, and walked across that gravel parking lot, across the highway, through the doors of an old bar. This is where that story begins. Well, it was home in Nebraska, late in the fall, the night the Cubs made history. When in walked a man with a cane in his hand. Barmaid said, "You believe he's 93? Well, it was standing room only. So I got up and said, "Sir, please take my seat." He said, "Thank you, young man, but I believe I'll stand. I'm always better when I'm on my feet." Well, I sat down and I finished the game, but I couldn't shake what that old man had done. So I walked back over and said, "I'd like to buy you a drink. You share the secret for staying so young." He laughed and said, "Keep it high, wide, and handsome, and always drink good bourbon neat. Learn to take a heavy stand, son, and love a woman that watches what you eat. Don't fear the failure, it's what makes them good moments so sweet. Don't be too good to be wrong, and never take a younger man's seat." Well, the folks cleared out, the Cubs had won. We never sat down, we just stood there by that high top for two. And I leaned in and I listened as his bifocals glistened. The jukebox played straight Ledoux. Well, I reached down for a sip. There wasn't a drip. So I said, "Hey, partner, how about one more?" He said, "Don't mind the mule, load the wagon, son, 'cause I ain't done till I walk out this door." We had one, then two. To tell you the truth, I was on 3 by the time he hit 4. We talked about love and honor and luck, and the time he fell out of a truck back in the war. He had a ring on his finger. When I asked him about her, he choked up when I thought his late wife. He said, "I sold a horse for that ring. We married that spring. 68 years, son, was a hell of a ride." The last call came, and instead of his name, barmaid said, "Hey, Dad, you know we gotta leave." He said, "I know it, honey, but I ain't drank in a year. I met a new friend here, and the Cubs are my team." We were both in bad shape. That's a fair price to pay to meet a man at 93 who won't quit. So as I shook his hand, he said, "It's nice to meet you, young man. You travel safe now. Don't you ever forget. Keep it high, wide, and handsome. Always drink good bourbon neat. Learn to hake his heavy stand, son. Love a woman that watches what you eat. Don't fear the failure, it's what makes them good moments so sweet. Don't be too good to be wrong, and never take a younger man's seat. Never take a younger man's seat." Thank you very much. High, wide, and handsome. All right, where's that band? Where's them boys on the band? I appreciate everybody's attentiveness and your ears and for being here. I want each and every one of you to know tonight how much I appreciate you. So this song's called Into the Road. Do y'all want to know the story behind this song, or do you want to just keep going? Okay. I don't want to bore you with the stories because I'm not short-winded. So I was at a family reunion. We had a family reunion. It was Labor Day. Every Labor Day weekend since I was born, we have had a family reunion. And at the peak of the reunion, there were over 300 people there. It was in eastern Kentucky, and it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and everyone left Monday. We cooked hogs on a spit and fed 300 people. It was wild. It was awesome. So one day, it was one evening of the family reunion, and I'm sitting there eating a piece of pie, and my cousin John Boy, true, that is his name, John. Everybody calls him John Boy. John Boy's sitting right next to me. He's a pretty good-sized boy. He looks over at me and he says, "Hey, man, you want to go for a ride?" I said, "Yeah, I do." So we loaded up in the side-by-side, and we took off. And down there, the creeks run along between the hillsides. And the roads run parallel with those creeks, and people's houses are on each side of that creek going up the holler, right? Like my grandpa grew up in Pico Holler. And if I send a letter to my Uncle Emerson, I will have to send that to Billy Ball Holler. So we take off up this holler. Well, you get to the end of the holler, and there ain't no way out. It's the end of the road. But it turns into a two-wheel track. Well, we get up there to the end of that road, and there's some boys up there. They got dogs and having a little fire. They kind of give John Boy a wave, and they kind of stared at me as we went by. Kind of tipped my hat a little bit. We made our way up the hill, and we get all the way up to the top of that mountain, and we're looking over the town of South Williamson. And as we're looking over this town, I leaned up against a tree and lit up a cigarette, and I looked over at John Boy, and I said, "You know, John Boy, a man really ought to know where he's going if he just kind of takes off driving around here, hadn't he?" He says, "Yeah, buddy, you better be sure you know what's at the end of the road down here." I smiled a little bit, and I said, "Well, thank you, John Boy." He said, "For what?" I said, "For writing my next song. This song's called Into the Road." I know a place that's hard to find and rarely seen by most, where the blood is thick and the hills are haunted by the rebel ghost. And I've heard of those tales from the days of old when them Varney boys would ride up the holler and through them hills, riding healed on a midnight ride at the end of the road in them Kentucky hills. Pines grow high over battlefields, and if the pills don't get you the coal train wheel, what's waiting on you at the end of the road? Since that flintlock stock was wrapped in iron and crossed a big sandy shore, they've carved their lives from the mountainsides and hide gold underneath the floor. And they chain them dogs and fly them flags and sing about the by and by. Dream of leaving that town one day. Most won't ever make the ride at the end of the road in them Kentucky hills. Pines grow high over battlefields, and if the pills don't get you the coal train wheel, what's waiting on you at the end of the road? What's waiting on you? Thank y'all. Boy, they're bad, ain't they? My grandpa Cecil, he would say, boy, he's ready, ain't he? That's his way of saying he's got it all put together. He knows what's going on.
Hey, we're going to run the buckets around one more time in case we missed you the first time. Or in case you came in with a big windfall between sets. So,
This song's called My Old Friend. This would have been back in 2003. I was looking for a Harlequin Great Dane. And I had to look in the paper to find that, right? Marketplace and all that stuff wasn't around. You got to look in the paper and find that. So I called this number. Lady was in Southeast Iowa, about 2 hours away. I said, and she was a breeder. I said, well, do you have a Harlequin in that litter? And she says, well, yes, I do, but we're keeping him. He's going to be a breeder. I called her every day for a week and just wore her out. And she finally says, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. You drive down here, no promises. And if I like you, maybe I'll consider it. I said, all right, I'll be there in about 2.5 hours. So I took off, and I went to Southeast Iowa, and by the time I got there, it was dark. Knocked on her door. We walked out to the barn. She opened up these big barn doors, and we walked right in there, and here come the mama around the corner, running through all this straw, and right behind mama was all these puppies. It was like something out of a movie, right? One yellow light hanging in that barn. And here come these puppies, and I thought they were all out. And I was getting ready to say, well, where's he at? And then here he comes. And he was fat and big and slow. And he ran all the way up to me and laid down at my foot and started chewing on my boot. And I looked at her and I says, well, I'd say that just about does it. And I took that dog home. This song is about him, and it's called My Old Friend. Well, I remember the night she opened that barn door and your mama came running in. Taking your time, the last one in line, but the biggest one of all of them. She knew when you started chewing on my boot, you weren't sleeping in that barn again. My old dog, my old friend. Well, you didn't like bones and you never dug holes and you never really cared for toys. I named you after Cooter Davenport 'cause he was loyal to the boys. You liked your ribeye like I like mine. Knock the horns off and bring it on in. My old dog, my old friend. We didn't have too long together. Man, those were the days. I told you every secret I ever knew, and you took them to your grave. I hope you're laying on a St. Screen porch now with sunlight shining in. My old dog, my old friend. Sorry about that, boys. I went right into verse 2. I did. But we're just gonna keep on rolling. Okay, we're gonna do verse 3 now. Yeah. Well, we took our last walk out on that oak grove where I used to hang my stand. It was my favorite place to sit. It was a pretty piece of land. If you only get one great dog in your life, then I'd say that you were him. My old dog, my old friend. We didn't have too long together, but man, those were the days. I told you every secret I ever knew, and you took them to your grave. I hope you're laying on a St. Screen porch now with sunlight shining in. My old dog, my old friend. Play one for old Cooter, come on. old friend. My old friend. So I named him, his name was Cooter. I named him after Cooter Davenport on Dukes of Hazzard. True story. All right. You guys want to all come in together?
Why not?
Yeah. Yes. I love that. Maybe do like a... Let's see how far this train goes off the tracks. Let's do it. Count it off, brother. There's something out there calling. Great beckoning is telling me to step outside. I don't know where I'm going, I just know where I've been. Time to settle in with the wind and ride. Take a chance before time takes my life. Closes my eyes. There's something out there calling. A great awakening is happening deep inside. I don't know where I'm going. Well, that's the way it's supposed to be when the chains finally set you free. Take a chance before time takes my life, closes my eyes. Ride, put it all on black and roll the dice. It's time to say goodbye. Take a chance before time takes my life and closes my eyes. And ride, put it all on black and roll the dice. Yeah. Thank y'all very much. Sorry y'all have had to stare at this gum in my mouth. Oh, man. What we got? Alone at Dawn. Story, yes or no? Maybe y'all can play that, just, give me a little bit in the beginning of that, Benny. And Dave.
Okay.
Just play it pretty. Play it pretty for the boys. So, I walked in and I sat down at this bar. I was looking for a good steak, and I heard this place had a good steak. So I sit down, and bartender comes up and he says, you know what you want? And I said, well, yes, I heard you have a really good steak. He says, we do. I said, I'll have a steak. I'll have that steak, medium rare, side salad, and a glass of cab. He says, all right. About 2 minutes later, a lady come in and she sits down in a chair, one away from me. She sits down and she says, yeah, I'll have the steak, I'll have a side salad, a baked potato, and a glass of cab. And I looked over at her, and she didn't realize what had happened. Well, both of our meals came out at the same time. Well, as you can imagine, two people sitting at a bar, we're eating the same thing, we're drinking the same thing. So the conversation happened naturally, and the next thing you know, we're 2 glasses deep, and she moves over to the chair next to me. And we're talking. It was a wonderful conversation. And so then I ordered a whiskey, and she ordered a whiskey. I thought, oh, Lord. Okay. Well, she got up to use the restroom, and I cleared the tab. And I got up, and as she was making her way back to the seat, I shook her hand, I gave her a hug, I told her it was very nice to meet you, but I gotta go. And I went out and I got in my truck. It was like January. I get in this cold truck, and I'm looking through the frost of my windshield, looking at a street light sitting in my truck. And the line that I had told her before I walked out, I said, she says, why are you leaving? I said, well, I think that we're both better off alone at dawn. And when I sat down in my chair in my truck and I looked at that light and I leaned back, I thought, better off alone at dawn. That's a good one. I'm going to go home and I'm going to write that one. And that's exactly what happened. And that's what this song is. It's called Alone at Dawn. Red wine, killing time, you don't know me, and I don't know you. Ain't got nothing else better to do than sit here and talk about back home, living alone, the places we've seen, people we know, ain't got no other place to go, so we'll sit here till the lights go out. Mind's racing on what could be if we put in the time. Maybe we'd see if I was made for you and you were made for me, but those days have come and gone. We're both better off alone at dawn. Whiskey need a little heat to forget about the reason I'm here in this seat. I'll keep talking to you, keep smiling at me, but honey, it won't last long. We're both better off alone at dawn. My mind's racing on what could be if we put in the time. Maybe we'd see if I was made for you and you were made for me, but those days have come and gone. We're both better off alone at dawn. Racing on what could be if we put in the time. Maybe we'd see if I was made for you and you were made for me, but those days have come and gone. We're both better off alone at dawn. Oh, both better off alone at dawn. So I know I'm probably introducing people that y'all already know, but please give it up for the man standing to my right, Mr. Dave Ducharme-Jones. And the man that's in the back that's keeping everything together, who sounds fantastic, Mr. Russ Tomlinson. Everybody give a round of applause for Mr. Russ. And my dear friend, Mr. Ben Mars. I love you, brother. Give it up for Benny. I would also like a big round of applause here for Miss Anne Ducharme-Jones. I so appreciate you. That was a fabulous job you did earlier. Scott Sunderland and all the folks here at XPK for having me out in the hospitality that just really appreciate it. So I wouldn't be here without all of you, and thank you guys for sounding incredible.
How about it for Blaine Garrett, guys? Thanks for writing all those tunes, brother.
Thank you.
I think you've gained some new fans here tonight. I think I can attest to that. And that's the whole kind of concept of this series, is to hopefully bring people on this stage that maybe you're not that familiar with, that you need to hear. And I think Blaine's one of those people you need to hear.
You want to just come right in, or you want to just slip in? Slip in. We're just going to slip right in. Young Man's Train. Key the windless sunrise with a radio, parked down by the creek, sipping a lifetime habit from a 10-day mug on this old bench seat. I told the trenches when I turned 18, trying to find my way. I can't say I found it, but the turns have grounded me along the way. Well, I can hear the whistle blowing out in the distance across the plains. Low on grease, but the dream's still feeding the flame. I'm just an old soul waiting on a young man's train. Well, it's a foggy season in a young man's life, when he's sifting through right and wrong. You learn to carry those choices as you hear those voices all night long. Tell mama you miss her, everything is just fine. Then hang up that phone. The loops on these boots know these fingers too well, but they're still holding their own. Well, I can hear that whistle blowing out in the distance across the plains. Low on grease, but the dream's still feeding the flame. I'm just an old soul waiting on a young man's train. Well, I can hear that whistle blowing out in the distance across the plains. Low on grease, but the dream's still feeding the flame. I'm just an old soul waiting on a young man's train. I'm just an old soul waiting on a young man's train. Waiting on a young man's train. Waiting on a young man's train. Oh, waiting on a young man's train. Good job, boys. Good job, all of you guys. Good job, all of you. All right, got a couple more here.
Settle down there, okay? We're not there yet. Somebody
So, talk to me. Do we want to jump right in or just wade in? We got talk to me. Talk to me, then 10 in the wind. That's what I'm looking at. Talk to me, Goose. I'm looking at all in. Yep. All right. Here we go. Want to count us off?
Right on the verse.
There you go. Well, I don't consider myself the irrational kind. I guess some people I know think I'm an old soul and always easy to find. Well, I'm not out on the town like an old hound chasing everything around. I'll be danged when you walked in, you turned my philosophy around. Talk to me, honey, won't you sit with me a while? Across from me, let me see that smile. It's like being a boy all over when your hair falls off your shoulders and I'm listening to you. Talk to me, that boy Russ. Well, it's been 10 years since it ended all wrong, and now we're standing here. Well, I guess we know just how hard life is after all these years. Well, I don't want more than just a moment or two sitting here with you. Give me an inch and I'll take a mile, 'cause that's all I want to do is talk to you. Honey, won't you sit with me a while? Across from me, let me see that smile. It's like being a boy all over when your hair falls off your shoulders and I'm listening to you. Talk to me. Give it up for him. Talk to me. Honey, won't you sit with me a while? Across from me, let me see that smile. It's like being a boy all over when your hair falls off your shoulders and I'm listening to you. Talk to me. Talk to me. They make it look so easy. All right, we got one more in us here. Anybody ever watch Smokey and the Bandit? Anybody know who C.W. McCall is? Y'all remember them old trucking movies and trucker songs? You know, they had this lingo. They had things they said on the radio that most people. I'm sorry? CB, yeah. Well, they call it a radio, but yeah, CB, yeah. Exactly. So, oh, I love it. Okay, Luke, this was for you, man. This whole song's basically trucker talk. Here we go. 10 in the wind. Daddy hauled a covered wagon to Beantown in the 50s with a Derby City drop on a back haul once a week. Always wanted a load out west to see the Rockies. Vowed he'd never let another man tell him where to plant his feet. He drove a 359 Peak Classic hauling 2 big breathers. Little flat top sleeper behind the wheel. Long and low she was geared to blow your doors off. Heavy on the black smoke and light on the hill. Looking for my 99, running double time down the trail. 100-mile coffee and a clean shot south. 10 in the wind and the window down, hunting for Charlie. Thinking about my little lady back home when the lights go out. Man, the times have changed since the Mumford Lane. Ain't much meat on the bone when the pump finally quits. Grab another gear down one more road. Grab another check, one more load. Take another back, slide back home to my stack of bricks. Looking for my 99, running double time down the trail. 100-mile coffee and a clean shot south. 10 in the wind and the window down, hunting for Charlie. Thinking about my little lady back home when the lights go out. Thinking about my little lady back home when the lights go out. Time down the trail, 100-mile coffee and a clean shot south. 10 in the wind and the window down, hunting for Charlie. Thinking about my little lady back home when the lights go out. Thinking about my little lady back home when the lights go out.
Blaine Garrett, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Give it up for these guys. It's incredible. You touched my heart. I appreciate you. Thank you, guys.
Next week we have James Bean. It'll be a rockin' show, so